Hello team and welcome back to the channel. First of all, it's kind of late. I'm recording and I started recording at 2 a.m. in the morning because I'm not getting much time these days. Okay. So yeah, make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. You will find tons of amazing hands-on videos on this channel from DevOps as well as on Cloud DevOps in completely real time. Okay. So make sure to subscribe if you're new. Also team, talking about those people who want to have dedicated training sessions on DevSecOps and Cloud DevOps and are preparing for interviews, this course is for you. Batch 6 is starting from 30th of July and this course is having like everything. It is based on mainly DevSecOps and Cloud DevOps. In Cloud DevOps, we are going to use AWS for infra and Azure for creating CI/CD pipelines. Okay. Talking about the most important thing, which is the project in this course. So we are going to have 10 hands-on projects which we are going to implement. Okay. Those projects include full stack CRUD based Java based application, Node.js full stack application, portfolio website, a virtual browser, three multi-tier applications we are going to have, in which one Postgres will be there for database, MongoDB will be there, and MySQL will be there. Okay. After that, we are going to have microservice based application as well, so that you can understand how they are built and deployed. After that, one real world Java application, .NET based monitoring application, Python based monitoring application. These are 10 projects that we are going to implement hands-on in the course. And also after this is done, then 5 projects will be corporate level that I'm going to explain the architecture, how they are built and deployed, so that if you are going for interviews, it will be much easier for you to explain a project. Okay. So make sure to check it out. And we are having as of now batch 6 coupon code we are having, which is early bird coupon code, and it will be closed very soon. So make sure to check it out and make sure to register if you are interested. Okay. So yeah, that will be for this, and let's now start with the video. So team, in today's video, we are going to build and deploy this application. It's a full stack application having even the login page, sign up page. Okay, let's say I want to sign up with this one. Okay. And now I can log in with the new account that I just created. And we are logged inside. Okay. So here you can see it's a minimal page. It's not very complex, but it's very interesting and minimal page. I actually made this application today itself using Java and H2 database. Okay. Talking about the what it does, it's basically like a to-do application, but yeah, it's kind of minimal design, having login page, sign up page, all those things. Here, whatever you want, you can just add the details. It will add the task here. Okay. If you have completed the task, you can click on tick mark. That will be just put a strike through. That means the task is completed. Okay. You can delete that task as well. So yeah, this is simple application, but it's quite useful to build this application and deploy, because we are going to follow lots of security practices as well as the best practices to build this application and deploy it to EKS cluster. That is the best part. Okay. Another best part about this application is that this whole process that we are going to set up EKS using Terraform, so that we can understand 𝗖𝗍𝗃 part also, right? So yeah, let's get started and let us do this. So team, first of all, we need to set up an EKS cluster where we are going to deploy our application. Okay. So for creating EKS cluster, either you can go ahead and do it manually from the UI, which is going to be time taking, or you can use 𝗖𝗍𝗃. Okay. So in 𝗖𝗍𝗃, we are going to use Terraform, and we are going to provide the detailed configuration about the cluster, and using Terraform, we are going to create the EKS cluster. Okay. For that, first of all, make sure you are logged into your AWS account and you have selected the region which is nearest to you. Since I am in India, so I have selected Mumbai. After that, we need to create one server or one virtual machine from where we are going to run all the commands. Okay. So I'm going to name this machine as server. I am selecting Ubuntu machine. I have selected 24.04 LTS version. After that, instance type I need to select. So I'm going to go with T2 large because I need to like execute a lot of things. Okay. After that, we need to select key pair. Now, if you are doing this for the first time, you need to first create the key pair. For that, you can click on create new key pair. Provide a name, make sure it's RSA, make sure private key format is PEM file, and click on create. Once you click on create, it's going to download the key on your local machine, which you can use later. Okay. Since I was already having this DevOps key, so I have just selected. After that, we need to select the ports, basically ports which we want to open on our machine. Okay. So here I have selected select existing security group and I have selected this one. Now let me show you the ports that I have opened on my machine. So these are the general ports that I open on my machine in inbound rules. Okay. So maybe you can take a screenshot and later on you can open on the same ports. Okay. In order to not get any issue. Now after that, we need to provide storage. So I'm going to go with 25 and click on launch instance. This will create the virtual machine. and now it will take few minutes time to completely come up and running. Okay, so let's wait for this. Refresh. Okay, you can see it's running status, so we can connect to it. First of all, we need to get the public IP address, copy that, and make sure that you have downloaded this tool, MobaXTOM. It's freely available, and it's the most or like best tool for connecting to a virtual machine, any kind of virtual machine. I'll click on session, SSH, provide the public IP address that we copied and the username. Username in my case, it's going to be Ubuntu because we have created Ubuntu machine. Okay. Then advanced SSH. Here we need to provide the way of authentication. So I want to connect to my virtual machine using my private key, okay, which I had downloaded. Click on this, and then we need to browse to our key, select that, click on open and OK. Okay. And yeah, you can see it is connected now, but let me just rename this just to make sure it's kind of cosmetics basically. Okay. So I'll just provide the name as server, and I'll provide a customized color also. Let's say blue. Okay, let me reconnect. Okay, now we are connected to this virtual machine, right? Let me increase the size. Now, first command that you are always supposed to run on a virtual machine is sudo apt update. What it does, it's going to update all the packages in the default Linux repository so that we can utilize it later on. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete. Meanwhile, it is getting completed. What we can do, we can get the scripts for Terraform. Okay, which actually I stored it on my GitHub repository. Where is it? Inside this account I have stored cluster. Okay, now what I can do, I can create these commands on the virtual machine as well. First of all, I'm going to create a directory mkdir, and let's say EKS. Let us go inside this and let us create the files. First file I need to create main.tf. Okay, and inside that I need to paste the commands that I have just copied. Save this, and next we have is output.tf. Here we are just providing the information about which things are going to be created, and like at the end of creation of resources we can see the details. Okay, one very important thing, team, I'll tell you, the script that I'm using, it's not at all hard coded. Nothing is hard coded. That means if I share it to you, you can just make any change the key that is going to be used and it will work fine. Okay, next thing we need to create output.tf, provide that and save this. Once it is done, next thing is we need to create variables.tf. Okay, and again the value of variables we can copy from here. In variable I have just put one thing, which is the name of the private key which we are going to use. Okay, you can see here its name is DevOps. Let me paste it here. Okay, and let us save this. Now this is done. Now what we have to do, two things we have to do. First thing, that we need to make sure that from this virtual machine we are able to connect to our AWS account. Okay, so that we can create the resources from here to our account. First thing. Second thing, we need to have Terraform tool installed on this virtual machine so that we can run the Terraform commands to start the provisioning of resources. Okay, now how we are going to connect from this machine to our AWS account? So for that we have a tool known as AWS CLI, which is a command line interface for connecting to AWS. Okay, so first of all we need to install that. So I'll copy these commands. These 4 commands will install it. I'll copy that and paste it here. After that, what we need to do, we need to run a command AWS configure, which is going to ask us credentials in order to connect to our AWS account. Okay, so for that I'll run the command AWS configure. As soon as I run this command and click enter, you can see it is asking for a access key ID, which we need to get from our AWS account. Now 2 ways this can be done. One is like you can create specific user by going into IAM. You can create several roles, assign that roles to user. Okay, but since this is just for demo purpose, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my root credentials. Okay, this is not recommended, but just for demo you can use it. Okay, so you can click on your profile name, click on security credentials, and here let me remove the old one so that I can show you like how we can create and all. Okay, so I'll remove the old one, and you can click on create access key to create a new one. Click on this and create access key. Now this thing that you are seeing, this is the like basically access key and secret access ID, access key. Okay. If you want to download it, because after that it won't be visible here, so you can just simply click on download CSV file, and this Excel file will be downloaded. Okay. Now I'll copy this access key, paste it here. After that, secret access key, that also I can copy from here and paste here. Okay. Now it is asking for region name. Now you need to select like in which region you want to create. One more thing, team, you should know that this credential that I have created, it is global. That means it will be working in all the regions. Okay. But in order to use Terraform, we need to define in which region we want to create. Okay. So I'm going to just provide AP-south-1. Okay. At the end, like afterwards in Terraform script also we are going to define AP, like region, but here we need to define very clearly like in which region we want to work with. Okay. Click enter, and here you don't need to put anything, just click enter. Now basically what just happened, we have connected to our AWS account from our virtual machine. Okay. Now using Terraform we can provision resources on our account. Okay. Now next thing we need to do is install Terraform. So if I search here, we can say Terraform is not installed, but we got the command to install it. So I'll copy this, and if I run this, we are going to get error. Let me show you. You can see we got error. So basically what we have to do, we need to put classic at the end of our command, which I'm going to put, and click enter, and this will install Terraform on our virtual machine. Okay. So let's wait for this to complete. Once this is done, then we can run the Terraform commands to create this EKS cluster on our AWS account. Okay. So yeah, let's wait for a few seconds. Okay, this is done. Now first command that we are going to run with Terraform is Terraform init. Basically initializing the like whatever things are needed for Terraform to work, whatever packages or whatever is needed, it's going to be downloaded. Okay. Successfully initialized. Okay. Now next command is basically I'm going to run Terraform plan. So what it's going to do, it's going to let us know like what resources are going to be created. If I click enter, let's wait for this. Okay. So here you can see it, in total 17 resources are going to be created. In 17 resources, it has everything. As I said, this command, the script that I'm using, it's not at all hard coded. Okay. So in 17 scripts, it's 17 resources that it's going to create. It has all the things. It has roles, it has cluster, then worker nodes and everything. Subnet, VPC, everything is going to create it. Okay. So now we have just verified, okay, these are the things that are going to be created. So next step would be to apply this. Okay. So I can run the command Terraform apply, and I can put --auto-approve, so that no prompt comes for us to like provide like in order to write us that yes, I want to create or I want to proceed with. Okay. So if I click enter, or maybe I'll show you first this one. If I just run Terraform apply, let's wait for this. Yeah. So here you can see a prompt is coming. Do you want to perform these actions, right? That means I have to write here yes, and then only it will proceed. But if I write in this format Terraform apply --auto-approve, it's going to automatically start the process of creation of the resources. Okay. You can see it has started, and you can see a lot of things are going to be created. VPC, IAM role, subnet, security group, internet gateway, tons of things are going to be created. Okay. Now this process, it's like, since creation of cluster takes time, so it will take around 10 to 15 or up to 20 minutes it may take, depending on your speed or depending on the VM size as well. Okay. Now, so first thing is getting created. So I'll open this session in again next page. And now what I want to do, let it be. Next up, what we need to do, we need to set up Jenkins, we need to set up Nexus, we need to set up SonarQube. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first of all create 3 virtual machines on which I'm going to set up all 3 tools. Okay. Here I'm going to write, actually I'm going to create 4 machines. One will be for Jenkins master, one will be for Jenkins slave, one will be for SonarQube, one will be for Nexus. Okay. So 4 machine, and let us select Ubuntu 24.04 LTS. Instance size, I'm going to go with T2 medium. Key pair is going to be DevOps. And here, this is the security group I have selected. Storage, I'm going to go with 20 GB for all of them. Okay, click on launch instance. So those instances are getting created. Let's wait for this. Yeah, so one by one they are in pending status. I'm going to just rename them Jenkins master, then SonarQube, it's going to be Nexus. This is Jenkins slave. Okay, now one by one let us configure all these things. Let me refresh, because you can see they are in currently in, yeah, now they are in running status. Okay, so first let us work with Jenkins master. Copy the public IP address, go back to MobaXterm and create, let me close this, this is not required as of now. Yeah, so let us create a duplicate session and let us rename this. This will be Jenkins master, and what IP address, public IP address I have just pasted. Click on OK. Okay, so Jenkins is connected, and as I said, first command that you are always supposed to run is sudo apt update. Let's wait for this to complete. Yeah, now the prerequisite for Jenkins is that first of all we should be having Java installed, and secondly port 8080 should be open, because by default Jenkins gets set up on port 8080 by default. Okay, so in order to install Java, I'll run Java, and I can see that Java is not available, but I got the command to install a specific version which I want. So I'm going with 17. Click enter, and yeah, so Jenkins is getting installed. Let's wait for this. Okay, yeah, sorry, Java is getting installed, sorry about that. So this is done. Next step would be to get the commands for installing Jenkins. Now do not run here and they are asking for commands. Simply go to Google, type Jenkins installation, or Jenkins install, anything you can search. Click on the first link, it will take you to official page, and here you can select the where exactly you want to install. So I want to install on Linux, I'll click on that. Then the machine that you are having, so I'm having Ubuntu machine. Now we got the command, so I'll copy this and simply paste here. And let's wait for this. So Jenkins is getting installed now, right? Okay, it will take few seconds. After Jenkins, one more thing I need to install on this machine. Basically, since I'm going to use Docker also, so I'm going to, here itself I'm going to install Docker. Okay, so yeah, let's wait for Jenkins to complete. Okay, and as I said, Jenkins by default gets installed on port 8080. So if I try to access it, I'll get the IP address. Sorry about that. Copy that, and if I put this on browser here itself and port 8080, you'll be able to see that Jenkins is installed, right? So initial password we need to have, which is stored on this location. So I'll copy this, go back. Okay, and you can use cat command to view the files, but generally this specific folder it requires elevated permission. So if I run this command, you can see it says permission denied. So for that case, what I can do, we can type sudo first, click enter, and you can see we got the initial password. So I'll copy this password and let us paste it here. Once we paste it, now Jenkins is asking like in what way you want to get started. So always go with install suggested plugins, because Jenkins knows which plugins are mandatory for it to work well. So I'll click on that, and yeah, this will take few minutes based on what VM size you are having, based on what network you are having. Okay, next step is that I want to install Docker also on this machine. So I'll type here as Docker, and it says okay, Docker is not installed, but we got the command, right? One more thing, team, these days basically with Docker lots of people are facing issues because of the version difference. So if you are using an older version of Docker, you might face issues. So in that case, what I suggest, simply go to Google, search install Docker, and whichever machine you are having. Okay, first link that comes, I'll click on that, scroll down, and we have the command to install latest version. So I'll copy this and directly run here. Meanwhile, this is getting run, this is running. I can get the second command, which is to install Docker. Okay, and here you can see specific version you want to install, or you want to install the latest one. So I'll go with latest. I'll copy the command, I'll paste it here. Okay, now it's going to install Docker. Now by default, usage of Docker is allowed for root users only. Okay, only root user can run the Docker commands, but if you want that other users should also be able to run, two options we have. Either you can define which user you want to give permission to. In that case, we need to run the command like this: sudo usermod -a capital G Docker, and then username. For example, I want to provide permission for Ubuntu, so I need to add this. This is basically what is happening here. I'm adding Ubuntu user to Docker group, so that whatever permission is allowed on Docker group, that will be given to Ubuntu user as well. Okay, that is one option that we can do. Second option that we can do, let me explain. Second option is that we can run this command. What it's going to do, it's going to give permission to all the users to run Docker commands. Okay, so either one option you can select. This one is more secure and this one is less secure as compared to this. Okay, so I'll copy this, paste it here, and now all the users are having permission to execute Docker commands. Okay, coming back here, we can see the status for Jenkins. It is almost installed. Okay, now Jenkins is almost done. Next up, what we can do, we can set up SonarQube. So I'll get the machine for IP address for SonarQube, public IP address, copy that. Let's create a duplicate session and let us rename that. Rename it to SonarQube and make sure to change the public IP address. Click OK, and if I double click on it, we should be able to connect to it. Okay, you can see we are connected. Now first command, always run sudo apt update, and it's going to do what? It's going to update all the Linux repository packages. Okay, so that later on if you want to install, we can install. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete, and this is done. And after that, what we need to do, we need to install Docker, because we want to run Docker commands, or we want to set up SonarQube inside a Docker container. Okay, meanwhile we can check the status here. Yeah, so here you can see our EKS cluster is also created. Name of the cluster is this, node group created, and subnet ID and VPC ID is also created, right? Now if I run the command here, kubectl, first of all kubectl is not installed, that means we need to install it. Let me copy this --classic. Okay, basically I need to check if you are able to connect to our Kubernetes cluster or not. And as you know, by default, what file you need to have? You need to have kubeconfig file in order to connect to Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so so if I run here kubectl get nodes, it will give error because as of now we do not have the kubeconfig file. So how we can get it? As I said, Kubernetes cluster is running on where? On our AWS account. And from this virtual machine, we are able to connect to AWS account using AWS CLI. That means we need to run one small command, which is this one, AWS EKS region update kubeconfig. Okay, and the name of the cluster. Once we run this command, automatically a kubeconfig file will be updated here, and you can see the kubeconfig, basically this config file is downloaded, right? Now if I run this command kubectl get nodes, and you will see, now you can see we are able to connect to our Kubernetes cluster, right? That means it's fine. Okay, and yeah, so next up, Kubernetes cluster is set up, Jenkins is getting installed. You can see here it is also got installed. So let me configure it. I'll copy this, provide the password, full name you can put, and email address you can put anything. Click on save and continue. Save and finish. Okay, so Jenkins is set up, right? One step is done. Next step, we need to set up SonarQube using Docker container. So first of all, we need to make sure that we have Docker commands available, right? Basically Docker is installed on the machine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run these commands again, and see, sometimes it is possible that if I just directly paste these commands, sometimes it is possible that it may not work. Okay, in that case, what I suggest you to do, create one script, one.sh or any name you can put, paste the commands here. Okay, save this, make the file executable using sudo chmod plus execute plus x means we are giving the current user execute permission of this file. Okay, and then file name. And now if I want to execute it, I can run /1.sh, click enter, and whatever commands we have written inside that script, it's going to run one by one. Okay, now this is done. One command I can run to install the Docker. Okay, now again, as I told that when you install Docker, by default only root user has permission to run Docker commands. So in order to, like, if you want other users to have permission to run Docker commands, two options we have: either add the current user or specific user to Docker group, or you can give permission to others also using this command. Okay, but the thing is, since on this SonarQube container we don't need to do too many things using Docker container, right? We just need to set up. So I can simply become root sudo su, and I can run the command in this format: docker run -d. -d means I want to run this command in detached mode. That means all the logs of the creation of container will be in backend and won't be visible on the UI. Okay, because if you don't put -d, it becomes very much messy to figure out what is happening and all. -e, and then we need to publish port, which I am going to put as 9000 for host port. First port is host port. Host is what? This virtual machine where we are running command, that is the host. After that, container port. Okay, container port is the port that will be open on that container. After that, the Docker image that we want to use, I'm going to use SonarQube LTS-community. And it's going to first download the Docker image and then going to create a Docker container out of it. Okay, so let's say this might take a few seconds. So yeah, let's just wait for it. Okay, and yeah, almost completed. And how we can access it? I can get the public IP address of the Docker, this virtual machine. And as I said, I will be able to access Docker container, Docker running inside container over port 9000. So I'll copy that and let me paste here, colon 9000. And you can see SonarQube is starting. That means correct command we have run. Okay, so Jenkins is set up, SonarQube is getting set up. Next step would be to connect to our Nexus. So for that, I'll copy the public IP address of Nexus VM. Go here, rename this. Sorry, not rename. We need to create a duplicate session. Rename this to Nexus. For this, I'll just change the color to green and change the IP address. Okay. Double click on Nexus and we should be able to see we are connected, right? First command, always remember sudo apt update. Okay, this is going to update all the packages in the default repository so that we can use them. Okay, and here also we need to install Docker. So what I can do, first of all, we need to get the commands. This is the first set of commands. I'll copy that and let me create a script here as well. 1.sh, paste the commands here, save this, and we need to make it executable. So I'll run the command sudo chmod plus x means adding the execution permission, and to what I'm adding to a file named 1.sh, so in this format, and then we can run the command by dots. One more thing, let me show you. If I run ls, you can see this file color is now green. Green means that it is not executable. So now in order to execute this file, I can run the command /1.sh, and it's going to run all the commands within that script. Okay, after this is done, I need to run this command, which is to install Docker container, Docker. Yeah, so here I can run the command. Okay, and it's going to install it's going to install Docker, and after that we are going to create a container of Nexus. Now coming back to SonarQube, now by default the username password is going to be admin. Okay, so please copy that, and now it's going to ask us to change the password. So we are going to change the password to something else. Click on update, and now our SonarQube is also set up and Jenkins set up. We just need to set up Nexus. Okay, now Docker is installed, so I'll just become root sudo su, and now I can run the Docker command, docker run -d-p. By default, Nexus port is 8081, so I'm going to provide that itself. Host port 8081, container port 8081. Okay. After that, the Docker image name which you want to use for creation of access container. For that, I'm going to type sonar-type/nexus3. And it's going to download the Docker image for Nexus 3, and then it's going to create a Docker container for that. Okay. Yeah, it's running fine. Let's wait for this to complete as well. And all these things that we are doing now, it's like just first phase, which is to set up the infra. Okay. So now we have set up Nexus container, right? But how we can access it? So first of all, what we have to do, we need to get the IP address, copy that, paste here, and running on port 8081, click enter. Now one thing you need to remember, Nexus is something that immediately it may not come up. You need to wait for few seconds or few minutes, then only it will come up. Okay. So yeah, let's wait for this. It got created around like 13 seconds ago. So as I said, it might take a little bit of time. So let's just be patient. Just wait few minutes and then it will come up. Okay. Meanwhile, in case you want to see the logs, you can run the command at docker logs and container ID. And change running waiting. Okay, let me refresh again. Yeah. Now you can see that it came up, and that's what I am saying, that Nexus is some virtual machine that takes little bit of time as compared to another container to come up. Okay. Now one more thing you'll see here, that we have an option to sign in. So initial username is admin. Password is going to be inside Nexus backend in a file known as admin.password. Okay. Now here it's written Nexus data, but just ignore it. Just remember that name of file admin password. Okay, admin.password. How we can get it? So we need to go inside Docker container of Nexus. Right? How we can do that? We can run the command docker exec means execute -it means interactive terminal. That means we want to interact with Docker container using a terminal. Okay. Then we have to provide the name of container ID, and then you want to define what kind of terminal you want to interact with. So I can write bin/bash. Bash means bin/bash means I want to interact using bash terminal. If you don't, you can simply write sh also and it will open sh terminal. Okay. But generally I just go with bash. Now you see bash 4.4, that means we are now inside the container. If I run ls command, you can see these files are there. First of all, we need to go inside sonar type work. Here you see Nexus 3, right? Go inside that as well. And here you'll be able to see this file admin.password. So run the command cat, then admin.password, paste it. And now we have the initial admin password. So from initial till here, copy. Do not copy the bash part. Okay. So once you have copied, you can put it here, click on sign in, and we have connected now, right? Click on next, and here we need to set up new password. So I'll provide a password, make sure it's matching, and click on next. Now we have this option, like if you want that anonymous access should be enabled. If you enable it, then your files can be downloaded without logging into Nexus server. Okay. For now, I'll just go with enable and click on next and finish. Now we have set up Jenkins, Nexus, and SonarQube as well as our EKS cluster. Okay. Next step would be to set up our repository and then create the pipelines. So let us do that. In order to create our pipelines, we are going to use first of all this project repository, and yeah, using that we are going to create the pipelines. Now before that, we need to make sure that all the required plugins are installed in Jenkins. So for that, I'm going to click on manage Jenkins and click on plugins. Now here we are going to download all the required plugins. First of all, what I need to download? I need to download SonarQube scanner. So select the first one. After that, make sure you are downloading config file provider. Okay. I'll explain why this is required. Basically, when we want to publish our artifact to Nexus, so for authenticating with Nexus, this is the plugin we need, because after installation of this plugin, we will be able to create a settings file That settings file is basically an XML formatted file inside which we provide the credentials for Nexus. Okay, so yeah, for that this will be needed. Then we have to search here as Maven. Then two tools, yeah, this one we need to have pipeline Maven integration and Maven integration. Okay, after that we need to install Docker as well. I'll select Docker and here install, select this and this one, Docker and Docker pipeline. Okay, one last thing that I'm going to install, one more thing that we need to install is stage view. At this point in the latest version of Jenkins, we do not have the pipeline stage view, so we have to manually set it up. After that, since we are going to deploy our application to Kubernetes, so we need to have Kubernetes plugins as well. So I'll search that and here search install this, these two install, and rest automatically whatever is required it will be installed. Okay, so select this and this will take few minutes to get installed all the plugins that we have just selected. Okay, once this is done, then we are going to configure them inside Jenkins settings. Okay, so yeah, let's wait for this to complete. A few more seconds it's going to take. Okay, and yeah, this is also set up and Nexus is also set up. Okay, meanwhile, if you are new on the channel, make sure to subscribe team so that you don't miss out any of such videos. And yeah, this is also done. Click on manage Jenkins now, and whatever plugins we install we have to configure it into tool section first. So let's go here, let's go at the end. So here we have Docker, so I'll just provide the name as Docker. Click on install automatically for all the tools, whichever tools you install through plugin. If you want to install it on your machine, you need to select install automatically and select this one, and I'm going to use latest version. Let us configure Maven as well. So I'm going to provide the name as Maven 3 and version, this one only I'm going to use. Coming back here for SonarQube. So click on add SonarQube scanner. Here we are going to provide the name as sonar-scanner. A version, it's up to you which one you want to select. Okay. And other than this, yeah, this is fine. We don't need to add anything else here. Okay. Now let us start creating our pipeline. So first of all, click on new item. Let us provide the name. I'm going to provide the name of my repo, Taskmaster Pro, and click on pipelines, click on OK. Okay. Now we have to make sure that we are selecting this option as part of best practice, because will make sure that there are not too much builds in your history. So I'm going to just make sure that only last 2 builds are in my history. Okay. After that, scroll down and here select Hello World. So this will generate a sample template pipeline which we can utilize to start writing our own pipeline. Okay. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create copies of stage. Okay. As of now, you can see there is only one stage. So I'm going to create a copy of it so that we can configure it later. Okay. Also, you need to make sure that no two stage can have the same name. Okay. Now, first one, I want that it should be creating a local copy of Git repository. So I'm going to run the command git checkout. Okay. And here we need to write the steps for cloning the repository, right? In case you don't know how to write, you can take help from pipeline syntax. Click on that. Here select git. Now here provide repository URL. So repository URL is this one. Paste it here, and branch is main. So paste that as well. Now one thing that you see, we are getting 128. That means credential is not provided and the repository is private. In that case, we need to add credentials. So click on that, Jenkins, and provide the username here as your own username, then password. So for password, basically you need to create a token. You cannot use your password, you need to use token. So for that, you can go to your GitHub, click on your profile, click on settings, then click on developer settings, personal access token and token classic, and here you can click on generate new token classic and you can generate it. Okay, since I am already having one, so I'm going to utilize that. I have saved it on my local. I'll copy this paste it here, then id in id you can put anything. I'm going to just put git create, add it, and we will select it. Okay, as soon as I selected, the error is gone, right? Now we generate the pipeline script, and we have this script, and we can add it here in the first step. Okay, so first stage is done. Next step, what I want to perform compilation. What is compilation? Basically, compilation is done to find out if your source code has any syntax based errors or not. For example, like if you might have missed any semicolon or anything, so those kind of errors can be found out by this. Okay, now in order to run the commands, we need to enclose them inside a shell block. So for that I can write sh double quotes, and for compilation of maven project I can run the command maven compile. Now one thing you need to remember, that whichever tool you are going to use that you have installed through plugins, you need to manually define it in your pipeline. So here I'm using maven, which I have configured in tool section. So how I can define? I can define inside the block of tools here. Okay, the format is in curly braces. First you need to provide the type of tool. So we have a type of tool as maven and name of the tool. So we have configured in tool section as maven 3. From where this maven 3 is coming, if I want to show you, manage Jenkins, then tools, here you can see in maven installation I have written the name maven 3. Okay, same name I have to put here. Okay, so now compilation is done. Next step would be to perform the test cases, the unit test cases that we have. Okay, so I'll write sh quotes mvn test. This is done. Next step, what I want to perform a security check of dependencies as well as the file system. For that we can use 𝗘𝘅𝗃𝗃𝗃. 𝗘𝘅𝗃 is a very one of the most widely used 𝗘𝘅𝗃 security tool. So I will write as fscan. Now 𝗘𝘅𝗃 we have not installed through plugins. Why? Because 𝗘𝘅𝗃 plugin is not available as of now. That means we need to install it manually. So I'm going to run the command. I'm going to here search as 𝗘𝘅𝗃 install Ubuntu, and this option that you see, this GitHub repository, click on that. Okay, so it's a GitHub page of 𝗘𝘅𝗃. Okay, here you can see, you can select the machine that you are having, so select that, and then here we have the command to install it. So I'll copy this, go on the virtual machine of Jenkins. Okay, here we have to, what we have to do, we have to create one script, _sh, and I'm going to paste all the commands there. Okay, save this and make it executable, sudo chmod +x 2.sh and /2.sh. Now it's going to install 𝗘𝘅𝗃, and whatever tool you install directly on your virtual machine, they will be available inside Jenkins as well. Okay, so let's wait for it, and 𝗘𝘅𝗃 we have installed version 0.53.0. okay, now what we have to do, we have to write a steps for scanning, performing the 𝗘𝘅𝗃 scan. Again I'm going to execute it inside shell block. 𝗘𝘅𝗃 command we can write 𝗘𝘅𝗃 fs -- format table. That means I want the report in a tabular format. Then -o means like in which file we want the output report. So I want the report inside fs-report.html. okay, and putting a dot means I want to scan current directory. Okay, so this is done. Next step I want to perform is SonarQube analysis. Okay, so for performing SonarQube analysis, two things we need to do. First of all, we need to use Sonar Scanner, and then we need to provide the information like where is SonarQube server. So this is the SonarQube server. Okay, so what I'm going to do, first of all, we need to define SonarQube scanner. As I said, whichever tool you configure in the tool section through plugins, you need to manually define it. So SonarQube definition, how we can give, we can define using environment. Inside environment, I can create a variable scanner_home equal to tool, the name of the tool, which is sonar-scanner. Now from where this sonar scanner name is coming, If you scroll up, you can see here we have configured the name Sonar Scanner. So from here we have written this. Okay, now we have to write it here, right? In case again you are doing this for the first time, you can take help from pipeline syntax. Here you can search as with SonarQube environment. Okay, and you can see it says SonarQube installation. There is no SonarQube instances configured. That means there is no SonarQube server is configured within Jenkins. Okay, see, there are two things: SonarQube scanner and SonarQube server. Scanner is the one who's going to perform the analysis, generate the report, and put that report on server where we can see the report. Okay, so SonarQube scanner we have configured, but now it's time to configure SonarQube server. So where we can configure it? So for that, go to manage Jenkins first, go to credentials, and after that we need to generate a credential for SonarQube. Because if you want to access SonarQube from Jenkins, we need to configure SonarQube right inside Jenkins with credentials. So click on administration, security, users, and as of now we are admins, so we can click on tokens, provide any name, and it's going to generate a token. This token will be used for authentication. Okay, coming back to credentials, so I'm going to click on global and add credentials. Now since we have a token, so kind will be secret text. I'll paste it here. ID we can put as sonar dash token, and same name I'm going to put in description as well. Click on create. This is done. Now if I refresh this page and select with SonarQube environment, so as of now we have configured what? We have configured SonarQube token, but we have not yet configured server. So for that, what we have to do, again go to manage Jenkins, go to system, and let's wait for this to come up. Scroll down till you find SonarQube server. You can see this section. So click on add SonarQube name. So name I'll just put as sonar, and URL. So URL we have to put from here. I'll copy this, paste here, make sure that last slash is removed, and token you can select. Now SonarQube server is connected. Okay, now if I refresh the page first, select with SonarQube environment, you can see now error is not coming, right? So click on generate, and this is the block that we are going to utilize. So copy that, paste here. Okay, now one more thing that we need to change. So basically here you can see it's written credential ID. Basically it's referring to that, okay, we want to, in order to access SonarQube server, we are going to use this credential ID. But one thing that we need to remember, that we have actually configured the whole server. That means if we just call this name, it's going to come up with URL and authentication both. That means instead of providing separately credentials, what I can do, simply call my configured server whose name is Sonar, right? And here I can write these steps for analysis. Now how I can write? Again, shell block, and I can put 3 quotes. Why 3 quotes? In case you are having multiple lines of code and you want that Jenkins should understand that multiple lines of code as one, then you can use 3 quotes. Now how we can call SonarQube scanner? Because scanner is the one who's going to perform the analysis, right? So here first of all we need to use $sign for like replacing this, calling this variable. Where is it? This one. Okay, how we can call? By $scanner_home /bin/ sonar-scanner. Now you might be thinking why I'm using bin, because the default executable of any tool exists inside bin folder of that tool. Okay, that's why I'm calling it here. Now herein we need to define some parameters like 𝗘𝘅𝗃𝗃 key. You can see K is capital, so here we can put a name like taskmaster. Okay, and let's say I want to write the next command, next line. I can put slash, then I can write -d sonar.project name equal to taskmaster. Any name you can put, it's up to you. Okay, and after that one last parameter in case of Java based projects, which is going to be sonar.java.binaries equal to, simply we can put a target folder. Okay, and close it. Now it's going to perform the SonarQube analysis, right? So okay, next step that I want to build my application. So I can write the stage name as build application, and here we need to write the command as sh quotes mvn package. Okay, now this is done. You need to create more stages for others, right? Now here next step would be to publish the application artifact. So for that I am going to write publish to Nexus. Okay, now here it becomes a little bit complex. Okay, again team, before moving forward, what I want to say that we are having a batch started very soon from 30th of July, which is DevSecOps and Cloud DevOps, and it's completely from scratch, and we are having tons of like projects that can actually be put in your resume if you're a fresher. And if you're not fresher, then I'm going to guide you how you can put and what kind of projects is good for you. Okay, so yeah, check it out, and if you're interested, make sure to register. Also, we are having as of now coupon code batch6, which is giving you an early bird discount. So yeah, check it out. Coming back, so in order to publish our artifact to Nexus, what we have to do, we have to do some changes. Okay, first of all, what we want to do, see, if you want to access some website outside, what you need to have the URL of website and credentials to it, right? That means first of all, what we are going to do, we need to where is it, where is the repository, 1 second, we need to add the URL of our Nexus inside our project POM file. Okay, after that is done, then we are going to add the credential for Nexus inside Jenkins, and in this way we'll be able to connect to a Nexus and publish artifact from Jenkins to Nexus. Okay, so let us do that. So team, what we have to do now in order to publish our artifact to Nexus, first of all, I'm going to save this pipeline so that it does not get lost. And now what we have to do, first of all, you need to have this section distribution management. Okay, copy that, and then you need to go to your POM file of the project. Here we have pom.xml, and let us click on edit, and let us go at the end. Okay, here after build, I'm going to add this file. In distribution management, we have to provide the repo URL and the repo ID. So if I go to Nexus here, click on browse, we have two options which we are going to use, releases and snapshot. Okay, so in releases, I'll copy this, and you can see we got the URL. Now copy that URL and paste it here. Okay, and in ID, write the name of repo. So in our case, it is releases, right? Similarly, we have to do the same for snapshots as well. In case you are wondering what exactly is the difference between releases and snapshot, releases is the repo that contains artifact for production environment. Snapshot is for lower environment. Okay, so remember that. Again, for snapshot, I'll paste the URL, and here it's going to be maven-snapshots. Okay, so once you have done that, make sure you are committing the changes. Okay, it's fine. Next step, we need to go back to Jenkins, and here let me close these things. Yeah, let me open a new page and go to manage Jenkins. Now we have to remember that we installed config file provider, so because of that, this option is available, manage files. Click on that, click on add new config, global Maven settings, and here you can put any name. I'll go with settings. Click on next. Sorry about it. Okay, now this file that you see here, it is known as settings.xml file, which is supposed to contain the credentials for Nexus. Okay, we have to add the credentials. Let me scroll down. Here you see. So I'll remove the comment from here. Okay, and sorry, yeah, comment is removed. Now here we have to provide the repo name, which we have Maven releases, and then repo user. Repo user is username password of Nexus. Okay, so I'll set up my own, the one that I have set up inside Nexus. Okay, one more we have to create, which is going to be for Maven snapshots. Okay, so I'll save this, and yeah, this is fine. Just click on submit and this will be saved. Now coming back to our pipeline. Okay, use pipeline syntax. Here we will be able to find something as with Maven. Okay, you can see this with Maven. Select that, select Maven version. JDK we don't need to select because a default JDK is present. Settings also nothing. Here you need to select the one that you have set up, settings.xml file. Okay, once you have selected, simply click the generate the script, copy the script and paste it here. And here we need to write the command to deploy the artifact to Nexus, which I'm going to write as shell mvn deploy. It's going to deploy the artifact to Nexus. Okay, now till here we have done. So team, Nexus stage is also added. Next what we want to do, we want to add stage for Docker. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a copy of the stages. Let me add this here. Name of this will be, the name of a stage will be build and tag Docker image. Okay, and inside steps, first of all, I'm going to create a script. Inside script block, we are going to write the Docker commands. So again, going to pipeline syntax, here we can find something like with Docker registry. Okay, here we need to select the credentials. So we need to set up Docker Hub credentials so that we can push our Docker images to Docker Hub. So I will provide the username. Make sure you are providing the correct username. 𝗘𝘅𝗃𝗽𝗃𝗃, password will be okay. Here you can put anything you want, just for identification, and select the credentials, Docker installation, and here we don't need to put anything because I'm using Docker Hub public. If you have private registry, then you need to put here. Okay, click on generate script. Now we have the block, right? So I'll copy this, paste it here, and we need to run the command sh docker build -t. I want the image name to be 𝗖liche / taskmaster, version will be latest, and a dot means the location of Docker file. So our Docker file, it is on the root location only, right? That means in the current directory. So I just put a dot. Okay, now after Docker image is done, what we want to scan the Docker image for issues. So I'm going to create another stage for scanning Docker image. Name of this stage will be scan Docker image. Okay, I'll write by 𝗃𝘃 also because we are going to use 𝗃𝘃. And here we need to write the commands to scan. So I'm going to write 𝗃𝘃 image -- format. In table format I want the report. Output will be image-report.html and the image name. So image name we have is this one. Sorry about that. I'll copy this and paste it here. Okay, now this is done. After scanning is done, we are ready to push our Docker image to Docker Hub repository. And I'll create another stage which is going to be push Docker image. And here we are going to write Docker push and the image name. This is going to push the Docker image. Okay, this part is done. Okay, now yeah, let me trigger it and we can see, and this will take some time. If I go to build, scrolling down. Yeah, so a process has started and it's going to perform everything that we have. Okay, so yeah, let's wait for it. Meanwhile, this is getting done. What I want to set up RBAC for my Kubernetes cluster. Okay, because RBAC is a kind of security as well as best practice for deploying to Kubernetes clusters. Okay, so for RBAC, what we have to do, again, I'll go to another one of my repository where I have the commands for RBAC. Where is it? It should be something like git master or something. Let me check. This one. Okay. So basically in RBAC, what happens? We create first a service account, then we create a role. Then we inside our role we define different level of permission. Like I want the permission to be get, list, watch, create, update, patch, and delete. Then I will assign this role to my service account, and then using this service account we can perform the deployment. So first of all, let us create service account. I'll copy this, go to okay the server from where we have created the cluster, and I'm going to create files like sa.yaml and paste it here. Save this. One more thing, you notice that we are creating this service account inside a namespace. That means we need to make sure that before we run the kubectl apply command for this account, we need to make sure that we have web apps namespace available. Okay, so I'll run the command as kubectl create ns web apps, and it will create the namespace web app. Now I can do kubectl apply -f, then this one, and this created Jenkins service account named Jenkins. After that, we need to create a role. Okay, so for that I'm going to create one YAML file, role.yaml, paste the commands here, save this, and then run kubectl apply -f, the YAML file name. Okay, now role is created, service account created. Now what I want to apply this role, or basically assign this role to service account, so that service account can have the permissions that I have given to my role. So for that we have to create another resource which is known as role binding. So I'll copy that as well. Go here, pirb.yaml. One more thing you'll be able to notice here, we have to define the service account name, which is this Jenkins, role name, which is app role. Okay, then only this will work. Save this, and then kubectl apply -f, then this one. Okay, role is created, service account created, and we have created the role binding is done. Next step would be we need to generate a token for our service account. That token will be used for authentication with Jenkins to Kubernetes cluster. Okay, so I'm going to create this, copy this YAML file. This is official page. Create another file which is going to be secret. We need to create a secret for our service account. Now, what things we need to change? Here we need to make sure that the service account name is Jenkins, because that's what we have set up. So let us change this to Jenkins and save this. And let us apply kubectl apply -f. Okay, now one thing you need to remember, in our secret YAML file, we have not defined the name of namespace. That means we have to manually define it by typing -f web apps and click enter. Now this is done. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to generate the token. Kubectl describe secret and the secret name that we have, which is my secret name -n web apps. And you can see it generated a token. So this token we are going to use for authentication. So I'm going to copy this and let us save it somewhere. Okay. Now coming back to Jenkins. Okay, this much pipeline is successful, right? So then I'll go here to manage Jenkins, and we need to, oh no, yeah, it's fine. Here we'll go Taskmaster Pro, configure, and we need to add the stage for deploying to Kubernetes, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another stage. I'll copy this. Let me expand this as well. And here, stage name will be deploy to Kubernetes. Okay. Now, here also we need to generate a block for Kubernetes, where we can do go to pipeline syntax, and here we'll be able to find something related to Kubernetes. You can say this kubeconfig CLI, right? Click on that credential. So let us add the token that we have generated. It's going to be secret text. So here we need to add it. So I'll copy this from here to here and paste it in secret section. ID will be anything you can put. I'm just putting as K8 token. Okay. Click on add, select the credentials, Kubernetes server endpoint. So server endpoint we can get since we have created the cluster on AWS, right? So I'll go to services, Elastic Kubernetes Service. You can see this is the cluster we have created, and this is the server endpoint. So I'll copy that, and I can put it here. Server endpoint. Cluster name it's asking. Cluster name is what? DevOps Shack cluster. So I'll copy that as well and paste it here. Okay. Namespace we have web apps, right? And this is fine. Click on generate. And this is the block inside which we need to run the commands for creation or deployment of the application. So I'll paste this block here, remove this comment, and here we need to write the steps for deployment that we can do using shell, and I can run here kubectl apply -f and then YAML file that we have. YAML file is named deployment service YAML file. So in this file, basically what we have to do, we need to make sure we are changing the Docker image name. Rest of the things I have configured. Okay, and I'll copy this, and we need to change the Docker image name. Docker image name is Taskmaster. Okay, and yes, so commit changes. Okay, coming back here. So YAML file name is this one, right? Just to make sure, I'll put -n web apps so that this resource is created inside web apps namespace only. Okay. Now creation of resources may take some time. So what I want to make Jenkins this process sleep for 30 seconds. Only after 30 seconds it can proceed to next step. So I'll copy this and create another stage, which is to verify the deployment. So I can run provide the name as verify the deployment. Okay, and here I can run this command as kubectl get pods. First of all, we want to see the pods. Second, I have basically to get SVC so that we can get the URL to access the application. Okay, click on apply, and one more thing. Now it says we are running kubectl command, right? But in order to run this kubectl command on Jenkins, we need to make sure that Jenkins should be having this, right? So as of now, plugin we have not installed. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to manually install it on this Jenkins server using this snap package manager, and make sure ---- classic. So once kubectl is installed here, that means inside Jenkins also it will be available. That's what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete. Okay, and yeah, it's done. Now I can trigger the pipeline, and let's see if any issue comes, we are going to monitor it. Okay, and here also you can see test cases. We have just one test cases that is also passed. And inside SonarQube also we might be able to see our project report. Okay, So there are not much issues, not much like code like issues here in our code because it's a very small code. Okay. So yeah, and let's wait for this to complete, and then we can check out if our application is running or not. Okay. So let's wait for this. This might take not too much time. So team, again, if you are new completely on the channel, make sure to subscribe. And if you are looking for dedicated training sessions in detail, make sure to enroll to batch 6, which is starting from 30th of July. Okay. The reason that I'm saying to you, because lots of people want to transition to DevOps, and what I can help you with is basically like how to prepare resume. One-to-one, I'll be connecting to people who are part of batch 6. I'll show you how to prepare resume. I'll share you a proper resume, how to like basically what kind of projects are good to add, how to mention task, and how to explain projects as well. So all those things will be explained to you. Okay. Yeah, so we are in push Docker stage. That is done. Now we are deploying to Kubernetes. Let us check out the logs also in detail. And you can see here it says resources is like deployment is done, deployment created, and service is also created, right? And we have added sleeping for 30 seconds so that deployment can be done, because deployment may take few seconds to completely get up. Okay. So yeah, let's wait for it. Meanwhile, we can, okay. So pipeline is success, and we have the URL also of the pipeline to access it. Okay. So I have copied it. Let me copy so that we can access our application. And yeah, here let us see. Pipeline looks good, right? Everything is fine, right? Now let us try to access our application if it is running or not. Okay, meanwhile it is getting here. We can check the status on here. Let me run the command as kubectl get pods -n web apps. Pods running. We can check out the logs just to make sure that everything is fine. kubectl logs and the pod name. Let us check for the first one. Sorry, this is in web app namespace, right? Okay, seems running. Yeah, so application is running. Now this is the application that I actually made today. And okay, so first of all, what we have to do, we have to sign up. So I'll click on sign up. Let us set up our account. Once sign up is done, you can log in using your newly created account. Okay, and this is the application that we have just deployed. You can see it's kind of dynamic also. Okay, now what we can do, we can add a task. For example, let's say I want to add a task like create a new video, right? I can add it, task will be created, and edit the video. Okay, yeah, so in this way we can create, and we can, if once we have task is completed, we can click on this task done, we can delete it also. Okay, and here it will show number of tasks. So yeah, this is the kind of application that I just deployed, and you can see it's working fine. Okay, so yeah, make sure to check it out and you can practice with it as well. Yeah, so yeah team, thanks for watching and have a nice day.